Hi, this is Ron Gannett, and I really hope you have been enjoying our series of messages on walking uphill, dealing with the adversity, the difficult moments that come into our lives. Today, I'd like to wrap up and conclude this study with a little thought from James chapter 1. You know, there's an odd little verse here that my dad used to quote all the time. It's in verse 2. He says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you encounter various kinds of trials." Whenever we would do something or difficult moments would come to us, or my dad would turn to us and say, "Son, just count it all joy." Well, you know, we didn't appreciate that because somehow we didn't see the joy in that situation. It's amazing, as James is writing this, he is saying that you can have joy in various kinds of trials. The early language for this word was that of colors of goats. Some goats were light, some were dark. He's saying your trouble can be something light, like putting money in a Coke machine and no Coke comes out. Or it can be dark, like a phone call that tells you that someone has been in a tragic auto accident. Whatever kind of trial, James says, somehow there's a sense of joy that you can have. What does he mean by that? I think he explains in verse 3. He says, because you know that the testing of your faith will develop perseverance inside of you. My friends, God uses these tough times to change us. Oh, we don't like going through these moments. We don't like the tough stuff that comes. But as we look back and reflect, we love what God has done in us and through us during those dark valleys. One day we had a teenage girl in our church who was in a very sad auto accident. Two people died and one was left as a paraplegic. This girl was in the hospital when I arrived, and she was on a breathing tube, and finally the family decided to take out the tube and let her go be with her Heavenly Father. After we left the hospital, I went home, and the family called and said, "Would you like to come over to our house?" And I said, "Sure." As I went over there, I thought, this is pretty difficult for me because the next Sunday, I'm scheduled to preach on this very verse. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you encounter various trials. And here I'm going into a home where, quite frankly, there would not be much joy. I went in and spent time with the mom and dad and the brother. And then they turned to me and said, "Would you like to go down and see her room?" So we went down into the basement area, into her bedroom, and there on her closet, on the closet door, around a mirror, were all these pieces of paper with Bible verses, probably 35 or 40, that she had written and torn out and taped them to her door to remind her of God's promises. Her mom turned to us and said, "Would you like to see her favorite verse?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "It's taped on the lamp beside her bed." And I walked over by her bed and read James chapter 1. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you encounter various trials. My friends, that was a lesson from God to all of us, to that dear family, to me, and to our church, that no matter how dark the moment is, back in the recesses of the heart of God is satisfaction, is joy, and knowing that He is involved and He wants to do something in our lives through it all. Maybe that's why when He pictures heaven in Matthew chapter 25, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Come, I will make you responsible for greater things." But then He concludes it by saying, "Come, come, enter into the joy of your Lord." My friends, I love the words of the prophet Isaiah. "Eye hath not seen, nor can the mind even conceive of what God has prepared for those who love Him." Oh, my friends, the days will get dark, and sometimes you wish they would go away. But even though they don't, remember there's a God of heaven who loves you, who has prepared something special for you. And as you see Him change you and draw you closer to Him, allow that joy to saturate your heart.